Hi, and as ever, a great big warm welcome to the Ask Zofie podcast. Today's episode, let me check what I've called it, check my notes, is called The Universe Wants You to Be Comfortable. This is actually based on a card that was pulled when I did an ayahuasca journey. And on that card, it said, God wants you to be comfortable. But I know that G word can freak a lot of people out. Therefore, I have changed it. I've amended it to the universe, and you can amend it to whatever you want. It could be your soul, your higher self, the everything that is, the angels. I can't think of any other ones. But anyway, yeah, replace as necessary or as desired. So it's been 2 weeks since I did a podcast. It feels like 2 years to me, but no joke. When someone says to me, well, actually, this happened yesterday on a Monday, they say, what did you do on the weekend? I'm like, I'm going to say it's because I'm so present and in the now that I can't even think back. Oh my goodness, my tummy is rumbling. If you know me personally, you probably know that I have like the noisiest tummy on the planet, which I used to think was like, I don't know, something almost dodge. But I've learned that actually it's a great sign that your digestion is working so well. And as I said in the episode where I talked about my colonic irrigation, did I do a whole episode on that? I think I did. Oh my gosh. Anyway, that my digestive system works great. So that's an awesome reframe. And speaking of reframe, before I pick my page from Love Notes, and then I said this the other day, this is my trusty old original hard copy, hardback copy of Love Notes when it was still called Love Notes. It's that G word again, Love Notes from God. And I just adore this book so much. Like I adore the book full stop, but this particular one, I don't know, I just feel like it's my bestie in book form somehow. Anyway, but I digress. So before I pick us a page from Love Notes, and yeah, hopefully you don't hear too much going on from my tummy because it's really being noisy right now and the microphone's not a million miles from it. So I'm just going to say, sorry, we got to suck it up. We got to just carry on. But Reframe, as you probably know, my beloved baby is going to be launched on, I think it's Friday the 30th of June. If you're watching on YouTube, you could just see Laffy in the background there. And I can't wait. I've already, as you probably also know, I did like a pre-sale, pre-launch thing a few months back where I sold access to Reframe while it was still being created. So there are people who've already gone through, who are already going through this program, but I can't wait to launch it properly and get it into more people's ears and worlds and consciousnesses. So for a week when I launch it, it's going to be cheaper than it will ever be again. If you have questions, DM me, message me, whatever. I am really, really happy to answer. As I've said heaps, what I put into this program, what I put into my work full stop, but at the moment, this is like my key focus. What I share in terms of my energy, my passion, my expertise, the content is no less than I would share with a loved one. And I do, like Daniel listens to this stuff. I've shared it with my children, with friends of mine. And that really speaks to just the love that's poured into it. You know how there's a saying, you can taste the love in cooking. And for me, this is key in everything. And it's key in terms of what I'm doing, whether it's this podcast or writing my book or a one-to-one session or the program Reframe. It's like, I just want you to feel my heart with your heart, to feel that connection, to feel that, like, because growing up, I really didn't feel that. I didn't feel like there was someone who had my back, who was my ally, who loved me no matter what, and all that stuff. I so powerfully desire that for you, particularly if you're someone who does feel alone, or at that point you feel alone. I don't want that for you. And that's always keenly kind of in my mind. When I was about and I majored off obesity, but anyway, what's new? When I was about 20 or so, it's when I was at university and I was particularly anxious at that time. I went to see a psychiatrist in what I would have called the Mental Institute. I don't know what you'd officially call it, but anyway, that's what it was known as, St. Cadoc's in Killeen, where I went to school, not a million miles from where I lived. And I remember his name, which I'm not going to say. I'll remember it forever. I remember it to this day. And he, in that session, was so unpleasant to me from my perspective. I was extremely anxious and vulnerable, and he actually just kind of eyeballed me, and it felt like, to me anyway, interrogated me, and actually kind of stared at my cleavage, if I'm being honest. And it was such an uncomfortable experience. I was already uncomfortable going in, which was why I was an energetic match, but that's not the point. The point is, I have that in my consciousness always. It's led me when I'm doing my work, particularly my one-to-one sessions, is don't be like him. Like, essentially be the opposite of him. Be warm and inviting and friendly and compassionate, and deal with this vulnerable person in the manner that is appropriate. In other words, be reassuring and comforting. And so that experience was horrible, but it has helped me show up better for so many people over the years. So of course, ultimately, I'm thankful for it. Anyway, I don't even know how I got on to talking about him. But yeah, reframe. I cannot wait to share it. I've poured so much love into this program, and like I've said lots of times, I've made it to be as close to working one-to-one with me as you can get without actually doing that, and to take you through the key tools and techniques and processes and practices that I share in my coaching sessions that you can then just plug in when you need, wherever you are. Like one of the people who is already in Reframe did one of the processes in it that helps you with phobias and fears on the bus. Like, how amazing is that, to be able to make these tools, these practices that you'd only be able to get in therapy typically, make them portable and access just at the click of a button. That I just think I'm so thankful for. But anyway, yeah, from the 30th for a week is going to be launch week, and it's going to be cheaper than it will ever be. And if you're interested, be in touch and get on that wait list. Okay, enough of that. So I've just got a load of crumbs on my love notes from God, but let's see, before we get into the universe wants you to be comfortable, which I'm really, really, really excited to share on. Let's see what comes up for you, for us, from love notes. Okay. I want to read both pages. Yeah, let's do this one first. 130. Underneath my love, you find yearning. Within my peace lies the deepest desire. And then 131, come back to me, fall into me. And actually, one of the things that I adore Rumi, the Zofie poet that many of you will know. And one of the things I wanted to share, which is relevant to today's topic, is one of his really well-known quotes, which is simply and potently and so powerfully, what you seek is seeking you. And that first quote that I read, page 130, I've forgotten already, really reminded me of that. Underneath my love, you find yearning. So it's speaking, within my peace lies the deepest desire. This is speaking to the yearning and the desire of the divine for you. Same with what Rumi is saying, what you seek is seeking you. Similar, related to what I'm talking about here today, which is the universe, the divine wants you to be comfortable, wants for you what you desire, what you want for you. So, okay, as I'm trying to read my, behind the scenes, that's what I forgot to say. Yeah, so there were so many things I wanted to say on behind the scenes, but I'm not going to, because I really want to get into the topic. There's the thing I'm going to share is that there's something at the moment in my life that is challenging me, and which I really don't like. I can't speak to this situation because it impacts other people. And if you know me, you'll know that authenticity is one of the key kind of like one of the key things that's important to me in my experience of life. And so when I can't share fully the situation, I don't like it, but that's just the way that it goes. So there's a situation that is particularly challenging, and it's kind of ongoing. And one of the things I was talking about yesterday with Daniel actually is I know that in any unwanted situation, you essentially, or just full stop, fiddly, only have 3 choices. You accept it, you change it, you leave. And so in my situation, it's like, I can't leave this situation. I've tried different things to change it. It hasn't worked so far. That doesn't mean I can't try some more. But I think ultimately it's about acceptance. And then my mind's like, but you've already worked on this, which I have. That doesn't mean that we can't do more work. And actually, I was just having a conversation about this with Daniel, how for women of my kind of age going through perimenopause, one of the things that happens is your body changes, right? And the things that you used to do when you were, say, 20 don't necessarily work anymore in terms of your health and your how much you weigh and so on and so forth. And so what loads of people do is they go, what I did before doesn't work, and then they give up. And it's like, what about plan B, plan C, plan D? Like, try all these other things. And this is a massive, for me, life lesson that I've learned, is with anything, just keep trying stuff. Whether it's, I don't know, me doing some recordings and a certain sound's not working, just try a bunch of stuff. Because at some point, pretty much invariably, if not always, something will work. And it's that attitude that I speak to loads, that I freaking adore, because it's so powerful, that was shared by Theodore Roosevelt, which this might not be verbatim, but it was, do what you can with what you've got where you are. Like, so often we're like, well, I can't do that, and I've tried that. That's not the attitude. Anyway, again, I'm off piste. So I just wanted to kind of touch on that with my behind the scenes. Back to today's point. The universe wants you, did you hear my tummy then? Sorry. The universe wants you to be comfortable. Think about this, right? Whether you use the word God, your higher self, the entire world, the universe, your divinity, the divine, the divine, what should that sound like? Wants you to be comfortable, or like Rumi said, what you seek is seeking you. And I've talked about this before. One of the most powerful things that's ever happened to me was at a particular point where I was doing some like meditative, crazy ass work. And it was at a time of yearning, and I have had a lot of yearning in my life for different things at different points and for really prolonged periods of time, where I was like, God, I need you. I want you. Where are you? And what I felt back from God, from divinity was, I want you. I need you. Where are you? And it was like just this most powerful reframes of all reframes. And there is a module, and I forget what it's called, in Reframe based on this. Is it Be the Love of Your Life? Can't remember, but just so freaking potent. It's like getting this idea through and all that it means, and just the might of this. So I wanted to do this podcast because these words have just been coursing through my consciousness, ringing through my ears, running through my mind, so in such a prevalent way, repeatedly in the last weeks and months, really. And I have talked about it. So I think I did an Instagram live. I can't remember. I share so much content, I forget what I've done when. Back to my point earlier of people asking me on a Monday what I did on the weekend, and I'm like, rabbit in the headlights. So on one of my ayahuasca journeys, about 5 years ago now, the lady that was running the ceremony before we began, or when she sort of commenced the ceremony, picked an oracle or a tarot card, whatever it was, which was supposed to be for us and relevant to us. And the card that she picked was, God wants you to be comfortable. God wants you to be comfortable. And this is just, I think, probably because I've been so focused on manifesting wealth and abundance and the comfort that affords, and the opportunity that affords, and the sense of security in the physical that affords, it's really relevant to this. And it's just this idea that life is for you. The entire universe at every point, every juncture, and every moment is doing its absolute best, is conspiring in your favor. Now, one of the things I see happen a lot is that people get mad at their body, right? Because they get unwell, or they have, like, we call a quote unquote bad knee or a bad back. And it's like, if I was working with someone one-to-one, if I was coaching someone and they had these health ailments and issues, I'd be saying to them, look, let's flip the script on this. Let's reframe this and get you to see that your body, if far from misbehaving, which I get why it seems that way, but it's not helpful to perceive it, to view it that way. Your body is so loyal and so loving and doing its best. And it shows up. Your heart beats every, minute, however often it beats, I don't know. And your blood's pumping around your body and your lungs are working, all these different things. In spite of what you do to it, it is doing its very best. And it's exactly the same with life. And I know when things aren't going to plan, when you don't seem to be getting what you want, when things are quote unquote going wrong, this can seem like the craziest thing, but I promise you it is truth. Always and ever and forever and no matter what. Life is doing its best. It's trying its best to bring you, like, you want more money, that money is seeking you. You want to meet up with the love of your life, that universe is trying to bring that love of your life to you. That love of your life is seeking you. You want health is seeking you. So it then becomes about, well, how am I blocking? And it's not like you mean to, it's not like you're a bad person, there's anything wrong with you, you're just human and it's part of our conditioning. But when you can take responsibility for this, and this for me was probably the biggest thing that has helped me on my journey with manifesting financial abundance, is to see that money is on the one hand, it's a neutral resource, right? You can use money for what we call good, in other words, to give to charity, to help your family and loved ones, whatever it might be, or you can use it for what we would call bad, like to fund wars and so on and so forth. So on the one hand, it's neutral, and at the same time, it is simply a means of the divine, of God, showing up in your life to support you in the physical, because it's our way of acquiring stuff, typically, unless, I don't know, you still barter or whatever it might be. But as a rule, on the whole, that's how we acquire stuff and opportunities and what we would think of as luxury and the best things. And I think for me, that was one of the, if not the biggest pieces of the puzzle, is to see that, yeah, God wants me to be comfortable. God wants you to be comfortable. And having enough money, like, we've got so messed up around this, the ego's got so involved, and it's just become such a sticky, funky, messy topic. But in it, when we bring it back to basics, it's just how we pay for stuff, and God wants you to have that stuff. Now, this isn't to say that, it's healthy to just be really shallow and superficial. Of course not. But when you're tapped into your divinity and you really want a certain bag or car or holiday, whatever, here's the thing that I know for sure, and I've said this before, I was born with this inner compass, just this, like, this knowing of what's loving and what's not. Like, just this ability, this capacity to see through the BS of conditional love and manipulation and false love. God, you know what? I just had a feeling that was going to happen. That's my cat litter being delivered from Amazon. And I'm hoping that they're not going to buzz again. I don't know how loud it is for you, but it's really noisy and horrible sound, my buzzer. Oh no, he is buzzing again. I'm just going to leave it, and fingers crossed he's going to just leave the cat litter and not think, oh my goodness, we can't leave the cat litter because it's such an expensive item. Anyway, I've completely lost my point now because of the Amazon guy taking me off track, but not that that's hard to do. So yeah, what I was saying, which actually was quite a deep point, is that I just was born with this knowing of, I wonder if I could take the thing off the hook and then it wouldn't buzz. I'm going to test that out, actually, of what's loving and what's not. And also this understanding that the entire universe, our lives, your life, is based on, is born of love. So it has never, will never, does not make sense to me that God, the divine, the universe, whatever, would want anything less than the best for you. So I think it is true that the divine, God, whatever, will make use of your suffering and your challenges, but it doesn't want that for you. It knows that there is purpose to be found in the pain and so on and so forth, but it doesn't wish that for you. And so it's just like, why would God make, I don't know, Louis Vuitton handbags and create you to want those things and not also make the path for you to be able to acquire them? That just doesn't feel loving. And of course, this is a pretty superficial thing, but the point is, so what? Like, he made you. Like, sometimes people will say to me, oh, I feel really guilty because I don't like this or I don't want to do that. I'm like, that's crazy. It's akin to feeling guilty because you were born with one leg, or you were born black or white or whatever. Like, you don't have control over that in this physical world. Doesn't make any sense. Similarly, you can't help that you desire luxurious things. And there is, of course, this difference between, as I've touched upon, these kind of like shallow, ego-based greed, gotta have that, gotta have that, gotta have that. That's not healthy. That's not what I'm talking about. Those things that you're like, wow, it would light me up to go on a trip. Oh God, that's the Amazon guy again. Hopefully he's gonna just leave my stuff. Fingers crossed. He to have this desire in your heart to go on this trip, travel to this place, whatever it might be, it doesn't make sense to me that there wouldn't be the means for you to acquire and achieve that. It just doesn't feel loving. It just doesn't feel kind. It just doesn't make sense. So what I want you to get to be reminded of, to remember, to understand, is that those desires in your heart are safe guidance. They were placed there, like you were made by the divine, by God, whatever. And so those desires were similarly made by that essence. And like Rumi said, let me read it word for word again. What you seek is seeking you. And so let go, please, any guilt or shame or sense of I shouldn't want this thing that I want. I shouldn't desire this. This is greedy. This is whatever it might be. If you've got a desire that is genuinely from your heart, then that is divinely led and designed to be met in your reality, in your existence. I'm just going to see if I've got anything else written down here. No, I don't think so. But yeah, ask yourself what feels loving, what feels kind, and we can all discern it, no matter how conditioned away from it we've been in our lives. That we can tell that doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel kind. It doesn't feel warm. It doesn't feel loving, whatever it might be. So it can be helpful to sometimes write out, what do I really want? Like, if no one was going to get mad, if I couldn't get it wrong, if no one would say I was greedy, if there was no judgment, what do I really and truly want? And we often get afraid of this. And you don't have to then go after exactly that, but it's a really helpful starting point. And to understand that whatever that is, that's meant for you. And again, I'm not talking about those shallow ego-led desires and so on and so forth, but those things that come from somewhere deeper, that are like the seeds are within you. You're destined for that. It just doesn't feel in any cell of my body to be loving or kind or right for it to be any other way. Let me know what you think. Okay, I'm sorry about the 2 buzzes and the doorbell. I think what I need is like take the thing off the hook and put a little sign on. I'm going to come up with a solution for that. Or I just need to figure out how to edit video. If you know how to edit video, give me a shout, because that would equally be particularly helpful. So I really hope that you find that soothing, reassuring, like I said a minute ago, let me know, because I'd love to get your thoughts, anything that your mind comes up with. There was something actually that I was thinking of earlier that I wanted to share, which is not related but really helpful. I was talking with the girl that did my nails earlier about Lewis Capaldi, who I spoke about heaps in the FU Inner Critic module of Reframe. And she went to a Q&A session with him recently, and someone asked him in that Q&A session, and if you don't know, Lewis Capaldi has major anxiety and imposter syndrome, big time. And someone asked him, now that your second album, whatever it is, it's not his first, second or third, whatever, now that it's done so well, has that helped your imposter syndrome? And basically he said no. And the point is, if you think that that voice in your head is going to shut up when you have £1 million in the bank, or you lose half a stone, you have that bikini body, you meet the man or woman of your dreams, you get your ideal job, whatever it is, it does not. And the trick to learning to find inner peace in respect of this is to learn to not listen, to not take instruction from that voice. This for me is massive. And I don't know if I've done a podcast on this. I don't know, I think I must have done, but definitely there's a whole module on this in Reframe. And in every module, I do like an introduction where I'm explaining the techniques and the tools. And then I do like a meditation or a visualization so that it beds in with working with your conscious and your subconscious, which is really powerful. It's like a belt and braces approach, and it emulates how I work one-to-one. But this is something I'm keenly passionate about, because I understand the difference that this makes to all of us learning. And earlier on, I went through a process with Daniel of, I know every time we up level, fear's going to come up, right? What do I say? Fear speaks loudest when you're on the precipice of great change. And I say this again and again because I want to get this ingrained in your consciousness. And I was like, what's your fear saying? Tell me it all. Let's write it out. And we did it. And like, okay, what's the opposite of that? And he was like, oh my God, I feel so much better. Of course, because when it's going around in your head and you believe it is true. I talked about this in one of the modules, I think, of Reframe, how limiting beliefs advertise themselves as facts. And when they're just caught up in your head, you start to believe your own BS. When you share it, when you write it out and you go, oh my God, that's what my inner critic is saying now, and begin to laugh at it and see it for what it is. The lightness that it invokes and that it brings into the situation. Anyway, I'm going into a whole other podcast, but maybe someone really needs to hear this today. It's so helpful. So powerful. I'm put off by just how shiny my face is. I do get a shiny face, which I'm not complaining about because my skin's pretty good, so that's great. But sometimes it goes a bit over. And I did actually put a bit of powder on, but it's like, yeah, we're gonna say it's because of the sunshine and the warmth and whatever. Okay, so we had a brief visit from Laffy. We had the Amazon guy very kindly, actually, bless him, or it could have been a her, obviously brought the stuff, and it's only cat litter, all the way up to my apartment, and was being really diligent and dutiful. So I had to be thankful for that. The funny thing is, actually, I'm going to say something else that like I could have got cross at him. People do this, right? Crazy. He, she, they're doing their job, like going above and beyond. An amazing thing. And I remember years ago when I worked in recruitment, I interviewed this South African lady, and someone rang her in our meeting. And she was so angry that they'd rung her in the meeting. It's like, they don't know. It's your responsibility to have your phone on silent. And this is what we commonly do. Instead of taking ownership for our part, we get all like we're focused on the other person's side of the street instead of taking care of our own. Again, this is really powerful. Back to what I said at the start, do what you can with what you've got, where you're focused. Didn't even finish that because I interrupted myself. God, how can you interrupt yourself? That's like proper ADHD lady stuff, isn't it? But yeah, focus on you, what you're doing. I think I've done 3 podcasts, 5 podcasts, whatever, in one today. Hopefully my ramblings have made sense. But the key thing is the universe, God, the divine, the entire freaking universe, everything that is, that ever was, that ever is gonna be, the entirety of all the stuff wants you to be happy, wants you to be comfortable, and then some wants for you what you want for you. Like, when you take that in and consider the might and the love that is beneath your metaphorical wings, that is at your back, that has your back, like, yeah, ineffable. Can't put that into words, right? So powerful. Okay. I really hope that you found this helpful. And if you did and you'd be happy to share and tag me, please tag me if you share, like, on your social media, because I can't see it otherwise. Then I really appreciate that, because obviously it gets this podcast into more ears, and in how do you say it, in more ears and in front, in people's, whatever it is, however you say how do you say the visual version of that, whatever it is. Anyway, I really appreciate it. It's really helpful. But thank you for listening or watching. I think I'll be back next week. So it should be on Monday, because I did it a day late this week. And I can't even remember why I didn't do one last week, but there was a reason. And as ever, if you have any questions you want me to answer, any cues for my A, let me know. Thank you so much. I will be back next week. Have an awesome rest of your day in the meantime, and loads of love.